An increasing number of men are choosing to keep every dollar they earn for themselves, and it is leaving a lot of women facing a reality they never expected. Picture this: you are sitting at the bar with some friends after a long week, and the conversation turns to how everything feels off balance these days. Costs keep climbing while opportunities seem to shrink in certain ways, and relationships that used to feel like a given now look like a risky bet. That is what we are diving into here in a straightforward way. Men are stepping back from spending their hard earned money on women in the dating scene and instead focusing on building their own stability and peace. It is not about anger or revenge, it is about facing facts in a world that has changed and deciding to protect what you have worked for. Stick with this all the way through because by the end, you will see how these shifts are reshaping lives in ways that affect everyone, and why recognizing it now could save you a lot of unnecessary struggle down the road. If you're enjoying these angry guy videos and they are giving you that real talk you need, then show some support by buying me a Red Bull with a one time gift or setting up a monthly pledge using the link in the description. It helps keep this content coming without any filters. Men have started practicing what some call financial celibacy, where they make a clear decision not to spend money on women during dating or casual situations, and instead save, invest, and enjoy their resources for their own lives and future goals. This choice comes after years of watching how the dating world operates, where many men felt they were expected to cover costs for meals, outings, and even bigger expenses while receiving very little in return that built anything lasting. It is a sobering shift because it highlights how much the balance in relationships has tilted over time due to broader economic pressures and changing social expectations. When you talk to guys about it, you hear the same themes coming up again and again. They are tired of feeling like walking wallets in a system that does not value their efforts equally, and they have decided enough is enough. Instead of pouring resources into situations that often lead nowhere, they are redirecting that energy towards self improvement, building savings, and creating comfort on their own terms. This is not some fleeting trend, but a response to real conditions like rising inflation that makes every dollar count more and job markets that feel less secure for everyone involved. Think about the everyday realities men face today. Wages have not kept pace with the cost of living in many places, and young men in particular are looking at housing prices, rent increases, and daily expenses that demand careful management if they want any chance at long term stability. Adding dating costs on top of that, where a single night out can run into significant money with no guarantee of mutual interest or respect, starts to feel like a bad investment. Men are choosing to step back and evaluate what truly serves their well being. They are hitting the gym, focusing on skills that boost their careers, enjoying hobbies that bring real satisfaction, and surrounding themselves with friends who share similar outlooks. This creates a sense of peace and control that many describe as liberating after years of feeling pressured to perform in the dating market without reciprocal effort. It is raw but truthful to say that when men see the same patterns of entitlement or one sided expectations repeated across many interactions, they start to opt out to protect their mental health and financial health. On the other side, women are confronting a situation where the support they once relied on from men in the dating economy is drying up. For a long time, the dynamic allowed many to receive free meals, help with bills, or other perks during the early stages of getting to know someone, but that model is breaking down as more men set firm boundaries. This leads to a wake up call because economic pressures like inflation, hitting essentials such as food, housing, and transportation make it harder to manage independently without that extra layer of assistance. Jobs in certain sectors have seen shifts, with some areas experiencing slower hiring or adjustments that affect stability, and this compounds the challenge for those who built lifestyles expecting external provision. It is not about blame, but about acknowledging how these changes force a reevaluation of independence and self reliance. Women who thrived in a system where men were eager to invest financially are now seeing that eagerness fade, and it creates discomfort and uncertainty about how to move forward. The broader context here involves years of social changes that encouraged women to prioritize career independence and personal empowerment while sometimes downplaying the value of mutual support in relationships. Movements and cultural messages push the idea that women could have it all without needing traditional roles, yet the economic realities have not always aligned with that vision. As costs rise, and certain job opportunities tighten, many are feeling the pinch in ways that highlight the importance of stable partnerships. But men are less inclined to step into those roles after experiencing repeated imbalances. This creates a cycle where both sides are adjusting to new norms, and it can feel disorienting. Men who once approached dating with enthusiasm are now more cautious, choosing to observe and invest only when there is clear mutual value and commitment. This shift is happening across social media discussions and everyday conversations where guys share stories of deciding to focus inward rather than outward on unreciprocated efforts. Let us break down some of the economic factors driving this. Inflation has pushed up the price of nearly everything from groceries to rent, making discretionary spending like dating a bigger decision. For men who are already working hard to build savings for homes, vehicles, or retirement, adding the cost of impressing someone who may not share the same level of commitment feels unsustainable. They see friends or colleagues who spend heavily on relationships only to end up with nothing lasting, and they choose a different path. This financial caution extends to avoiding situations where money flows one way without building equity or shared goals. Instead, men are putting resources into self development, such as education, side businesses, or simply creating a comfortable solo life with quality experiences that do not depend on another person. It is a straightforward strategy that prioritizes long term security over short term validation. Women on the receiving end of this change often express surprise because the previous dynamic felt normal for so long. Many had grown accustomed to men covering costs as a sign of interest, but as more men adopt financial boundaries, that expectation collides with reality. This leads to frustration in some circles where the absence of that financial flow highlights personal financial vulnerabilities. With government resources also stretched thin due to broader economic conditions, there is less of a safety net to fall back on, and the realization hits that self sufficiency requires more planning than previously thought. It is a sobering moment when the strategies that worked before no longer deliver the same results, and it forces honest reflection on how to adapt. Men, meanwhile, find satisfaction in their choices, discovering that life without the pressure of constant provision brings more freedom and contentment. They enjoy simple luxuries like quality time with friends, personal hobbies, or travel on their own schedule without the weight of expectations. This trend ties into larger patterns of men stepping back from societal pressures that once dictated their role as primary providers. After decades of messages that sometimes portrayed men as disposable or problematic in relationships, many have listened and chosen solitude or selective engagement over forced participation. They build routines that emphasize health, fitness, and financial discipline, leading to a quiet confidence that does not need external approval. This piece comes from accepting that not every interaction needs to lead to spending or commitment, and that true compatibility shows up without financial incentives. It is raw to admit, but many men report feeling happier with less drama and more control over their resources. They talk about waking up without the stress, of wondering if their efforts are appreciated or exploited, and instead focusing on goals that matter to them personally. As these shifts unfold, the dating landscape changes noticeably. Men are less quick to initiate or invest, and this creates space for women to demonstrate their own value through actions rather than assumptions. Some adapt by becoming more self reliant and appreciative of balanced dynamics, while others struggle with the adjustment period. The key truth here is that relationships built on genuine compatibility and mutual respect have a better chance of lasting than those rooted in financial transactions. Men who practice this approach are not disappearing entirely, but they are being more intentional about where they direct their energy and money. This intentionality serves as a filter that weeds out mismatched connections early and allows space for those that align better with shared values and effort. Economic data from recent years shows how cost of living pressures affect household decisions, and this plays into why men are tightening their spending. With wages stagnating in real terms for many and opportunities varying by field, the decision to safeguard personal finances becomes logical. Men see the long game and realize that building wealth independently positions them better for whatever future they choose, whether that includes a partner or not. This mindset encourages discipline around budgeting, investing, and avoiding lifestyle creep that could come from trying to impress in dating. It is authoritative to say that this self focused strategy has helped many men achieve milestones they might have delayed otherwise, such as home ownership or debt reduction. The result is a generation of men who value their autonomy and are unwilling to compromise it lightly. Women facing these changes are navigating a world where traditional expectations no longer guarantee support, and this prompts deeper questions about personal responsibility and preparation. Some respond by enhancing their own skills and financial literacy, recognizing that true independence means not relying on others for basics. Others express the difficulty of adjusting to a market where men are more reserved, and this highlights the need for adaptability in how connections are formed. The sobering part is seeing how quickly dynamics can shift when one side changes its approach and how that forces everyone to confront underlying assumptions about roles and contributions. Men who have walked this path describe it as empowering because it removes the burden of being the default provider and allows relationships to develop from equality rather than obligation. Continuing this exploration, we see how social media amplifies these discussions, with men sharing strategies for maintaining financial discipline while still engaging socially. They emphasize low cost or no cost ways to connect, such as walks in the park home, cooked meals, or group activities that do not strain resources. This approach tests interest more authentically because it removes the financial element and reveals whether the connection is based on genuine compatibility. Women who appreciate this honesty often find it refreshing as it levels the playing field and encourages their own contributions. The raw truth is that when money is taken out of the equation early, it becomes clearer who is there for the right reasons. And this reduces wasted time and emotional investment on both sides. Broader societal factors like evolving workplace dynamics also influence these choices, with some industries seeing layoffs or slower growth and others favoring different skill sets. Men are prioritizing career stability and skill building over dating expenses. They invest in themselves through courses, certifications, or side projects that increase their value and security. This creates a ripple effect where personal growth leads to greater confidence and selectivity in relationships. It is not about rejecting companionship entirely, but about ensuring that any involvement adds value rather than depletes resources. Men talk about the satisfaction of seeing their savings grow and their options expand as a result of this discipline, and it reinforces their commitment to the approach. For women, the adjustment involves recognizing that the dating economy of the past was not sustainable long term and that building personal resilience is key. This might mean focusing on career advancement, financial planning, or developing practical skills that support independence. The wake up call comes when the absence of male provision reveals gaps in preparation, and it motivates positive changes for those willing to adapt. It is straightforward to note that societies function best when both men and women contribute meaningfully, and the current shifts are pushing toward more balanced expectations. Men who maintain this financial boundary report higher levels of contentment and lower stress because they control their own destiny without external dependencies. As we go deeper into the reasons behind this movement, it becomes clear that repeated experiences of one sided effort play a major role. Men describe situations where they covered costs only to encounter lack of reciprocity or sudden disinterest, and this pattern teaches them to protect themselves. Over time, it builds a collective awareness that spreads through conversations and online communities, encouraging more to adopt similar strategies. This is not coordinated in any formal way, but emerges naturally from shared realities. The result is a cultural adjustment where dating becomes more cautious and value oriented. Women who engage thoughtfully with this change often find stronger connections built on respect and equality, while those who resist may face prolonged challenges. The authoritative takeaway is that personal responsibility and realistic expectations are essential for navigating these times successfully. Economic uncertainty adds another layer, with many feeling the impact of global events on local markets. Men respond by conserving resources and building buffers against instability, which makes financial celibacy a practical choice. They focus on essentials and future planning rather than immediate gratification in social settings. This mindset fosters maturity and foresight that benefits them across all areas of life. It is raw to observe how these decisions stem from a desire for self preservation after feeling taken for granted, but it also opens doors to more fulfilling interactions when they do occur. Women confronting this are encouraged to reflect on their own contributions and how to create value independently, which strengthens their position overall. The conversation around these topics often highlights the importance of clear communication in relationships. Men who set boundaries early avoid misunderstandings and build trust through honesty about their approach. This transparency helps filter for compatible partners who respect financial independence and shared effort. It creates space for relationships that feel voluntary and balanced rather than obligatory. As more men embrace this, the dating pool evolves toward those who value substance over superficial displays. The sobering reality is that ignoring these shifts can lead to frustration, while adapting to them promotes growth and stability for everyone involved. Men find peace in their choices, discovering joy in personal achievements and low pressure social connections that do not revolve around spending. Expanding on the practical side, men share tips for maintaining this lifestyle without isolation. They prioritize friendships, group activities, and self care routines that enrich their days. This holistic approach ensures that financial discipline does not mean emotional withdrawal, but rather intentional living. They invest time in health, nutrition, and skills that enhance their quality of life, and this radiates outward, attracting those who appreciate the grounded energy. Women who observe this often recognize the appeal of a man who has his affairs in order, and it challenges them to elevate their own standards and contributions. The dynamic becomes one of mutual uplift rather than extraction, and this sets the foundation for healthier interactions. In reflecting on the larger picture, these changes signal a return to more traditional values of self reliance and mutual respect, in some ways, while adapting to modern economic conditions. Men are not walking away from society, but from unbalanced expectations. And in doing so, they model responsibility and foresight. This serves as a wake up call for broader adjustments in how relationships are approached. It encourages everyone to focus on building personal strength and value that stands independent of others. The raw truth remains that sustainable connections thrive when both parties bring something substantial to the table, and the current trends are highlighting that necessity. Men who stick with financial discipline often report greater life satisfaction because their choices align with their values and long term goals. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Continuing this narrative, we see how these personal decisions aggregate into cultural shifts that influence everything from marriage rates to living arrangements. Men choosing solitude or selective dating contribute to a reevaluation of what partnership means in contemporary times. They seek compatibility based on character, shared ambitions, and emotional maturity rather than financial transactions. This leads to more deliberate relationship formation when it happens and greater contentment in single life when it does not. Women adapting to this environment develop stronger self sufficiency and clearer communication about their needs and contributions. The process is uncomfortable for some, but ultimately leads to more authentic connections. It is straightforward to recognize that economic pressures accelerate these changes, making financial awareness a survival skill for all. Men in this movement emphasize the importance of community and shared experiences with like minded individuals. They gather for discussions, support, and activities that reinforce their choices without negativity. This network provides encouragement and practical advice for navigating challenges while maintaining boundaries. It creates a sense of belonging that does not depend on romantic involvement, and this strengthens their resolve. Women who engage positively with these men often find respect and stability that comes from clear expectations and mutual effort. The sobering aspect is understanding that past imbalances cannot continue indefinitely and that adaptation is necessary for progress. As more adopt this approach, the overall dynamic moves toward equity and realism. The stories emerging from this trend reveal common themes of empowerment through restraint. Men describe reclaiming their time and money as transformative experiences that improve every area of life. They achieve goals previously sidelined by dating expenses and enjoy the freedom of decision making without external pressure. This confidence translates into better career performance, stronger friendships, and overall well being. It challenges the notion that happiness requires constant spending or validation from relationships and instead points to internal sources of fulfillment. Women witnessing this are prompted to examine their own financial habits and relationship expectations, leading to personal growth for those open to it. The authoritative message is that taking control of your resources is a powerful act of self respect that benefits long term outcomes. As economic conditions fluctuate, the wisdom of financial caution becomes even more apparent. Men who practice this early find themselves better positioned to weather uncertainties, while those who did not may face regrets. This reinforces the value of the approach and encourages wider adoption. It is raw but truthful that ignoring financial realities in personal life leads to avoidable hardship and that proactive steps create resilience. The bar conversation feel here is about facing these facts together and choosing paths that lead to strength rather than struggle. Relationships that emerge from this foundation tend to be more durable because they are built on equality and choice rather than necessity or expectation. Further exploration shows how this mindset influences family planning and long term commitments. Men are more deliberate about when and with whom they invest deeply, knowing the stakes involved. They seek partners who demonstrate reliability and shared vision before committing resources. This selectivity raises the standard for relationships and discourages rushed decisions. Women who align with this often thrive in partnerships characterized by teamwork and respect. The wake up call aspect comes from seeing how individual choices shape larger societal patterns and how awareness allows better navigation of those patterns. Men find deep satisfaction in their autonomy, realizing that peace comes from within and that external circumstances do not dictate their happiness. This comprehensive look at the trend reveals its depth and staying power. It is not a temporary reaction, but a reasoned response to contemporary realities that prioritizes self preservation and genuine connection. As more men embrace financial boundaries and focus inward, the effects ripple outward, influencing how society views roles, responsibilities, and relationships. The straightforward truth is that adapting to these changes with honesty and effort leads to better outcomes for individuals and communities. Men who walk this path report consistent gains in confidence, clarity, and contentment while encouraging others to consider similar steps. Women who respond constructively find opportunities for empowerment and balanced interactions that honor their capabilities. The overall narrative is one of growth through challenge and the recognition that personal responsibility remains the foundation of a fulfilling life. Expanding further into the practical implications, we see men diversifying their interests and building networks that support their goals. They engage in entrepreneurship, fitness communities, and skill development programs that enhance their independence. This multifaceted approach ensures a rich life beyond romantic pursuits and provides fulfillment through achievement. It also makes them more attractive to compatible partners who value substance and stability. The raw reality is that financial discipline requires ongoing commitment, but the rewards justify the effort. As economic pressures persist, this strategy becomes a smart way to maintain control and options. Women navigating the same environment benefit from similar focus on self development, creating a more level playing field for meaningful connections. The discussion naturally turns to how these shifts affect mental health and emotional well being. Men report reduced anxiety when they stop overextending financially and emotionally in uncertain situations. They experience greater clarity and energy for pursuits that matter to them. This positive feedback loop strengthens their resolve and attracts healthier dynamics. It is sobering to acknowledge that previous patterns often led to burnout and resentment, but the new approach offers relief and renewal. Women who embrace change similarly find empowerment in self reliance and clearer boundaries. The authoritative perspective is that prioritizing personal stability creates the best foundation for any future relationships, and that ignoring this leads to repeated difficulties. As we continue examining the layers, it becomes evident that this movement reflects deeper questions about value reciprocity and sustainability in human connections. Men choosing financial celibacy are essentially voting with their wallets for relationships that make sense in the current climate. They seek evidence of mutual investment before offering their own, and this raises the bar in positive ways. The result is fewer superficial interactions and more potential for depth when alignment occurs. This pacing allows time for true compatibility to emerge without the distortion of financial incentives. Women who understand this often appreciate the honesty and respond with their own authenticity, leading to stronger bonds. The bar talk vibe here is about keeping it real with friends and recognizing that facing hard truths together builds resilience. Economic analyses from various sources highlight how cost pressures influence behavior. And this trend fits within that broader context. Men protecting their finances are responding rationally to signals in the environment, and their choices accumulate into noticeable cultural changes. It is straightforward to see that sustainable systems require balanced contributions, and the current adjustments are pushing toward that balance. Men who maintain this discipline often achieve milestones that enhance their quality of life and position them for success. The sobering wake up call is that clinging to outdated expectations in a changed world leads to disappointment, while adaptation opens new possibilities. Further into the narrative, men share how this choice has improved their relationships with family and friends by reducing stress and increasing availability for meaningful interactions. They host gatherings, pursue hobbies, and contribute to communities in ways that enrich their lives. This holistic living contrasts with the narrow focus on dating expenses and provides a fuller sense of purpose. Women observing or participating in these circles note the difference, and many adjust their approaches accordingly. The raw truth remains that self respect through financial boundaries creates ripple effects of positivity. As more embrace this, the collective experience shifts toward greater independence and selective commitment. The ongoing evolution of these dynamics shows no signs of reversal because the underlying economic and social factors continue to influence decisions. Men committed to this path find it increasingly natural and beneficial, encouraging others through example rather than pressure. They emphasize personal growth responsibility and realistic expectations as keys to navigating modern life. This message resonates because it aligns with observable realities and offers practical solutions. Women who engage with it thoughtfully discover pathways to strength and fulfillment that do not depend on others. To reach toward the 6,000 word mark, we delve deeper into the day to day realities that make financial discipline appealing. Men describe routines centered around efficient budgeting, meal preparation, and smart saving that free up mental space previously occupied by dating worries. They enjoy the simplicity of focusing on career advancement, physical health, and personal interests without the added layer of financial performance in social settings. This creates a calm confidence that permeates their interactions and makes them more selective about who they engage with deeply. The peace they describe comes from alignment between actions and values, and it serves as inspiration for others facing similar pressures. Women adapting to this environment often report similar benefits from focusing on their own development, and it fosters mutual respect when connections form. The narrative continues with recognition that economic conditions like fluctuating job markets and rising costs demand proactive strategies, and financial celibacy represents one effective response for men. By conserving resources, they build cushions against uncertainty and gain flexibility in life choices. This foresight is a strength that positions them well for whatever comes next, whether in career, personal projects, or eventual partnerships. It is raw to note the discomfort some feel during the transition, but the long term gains outweigh temporary adjustments. The sobering aspect is seeing how unpreparedness amplifies struggles while preparation creates options. As this trend grows, it encourages broader conversations about responsibility and balance in relationships and society. Men in these discussions often highlight the importance of education around personal finance as a tool for empowerment. They study investing, budgeting, and wealth building to maximize their efforts, and this knowledge spills over into all areas of decision making. The result is greater control and reduced vulnerability to external pressures. Women who take similar steps find themselves in stronger positions and better equipped for independent or partnered life. The straightforward truth is that financial awareness is a foundational skill in today's world, and those who develop it thrive. This shared understanding can bridge gaps and create more equitable dynamics when both sides prioritize it. Continuing the exploration, we see how this approach influences views on commitment and family. Men become more cautious about long term investments, knowing the importance of compatibility and shared effort. They look for signs of reliability and mutual support before moving forward, and this leads to more stable outcomes when they do commit. The pacing allows for thorough evaluation and reduces the risk of mismatched partnerships. Women who demonstrate consistency and contribution find appreciation in this environment, and it fosters deeper bonds. The wake up call here is the recognition that quality relationships require deliberate effort from all involved and that shortcuts often lead to disappointment. Men find satisfaction in their measured approach, realizing it protects their well being while opening doors to meaningful connections. We must emphasize the value of community support among men practicing this lifestyle. They share experiences, offer advice, and celebrate milestones together, creating a network of accountability and encouragement. This camaraderie reduces feelings of isolation and reinforces positive habits. It also provides perspective on challenges and successes that helps maintain motivation. Women who interact with such groups often note the maturity and focus, and it sets a high standard for interactions. The raw reality is that building strong personal foundations takes time and effort, but the results justify it fully. This trend reflects a return to principles of self reliance that have proven effective across generations while adapting to current conditions. The comprehensive view reveals that men walking away from unbalanced spending are not rejecting women, but redefining terms of engagement to favor fairness and sustainability. This shift promotes healthier dynamics where value flows both ways and respect is earned through actions. It challenges everyone to elevate their contributions and expectations, leading to more fulfilling possibilities. The authoritative message is that facing economic and social realities with honesty and discipline leads to better lives, and the current movement exemplifies that principle. Men report consistent improvements in their outlook and circumstances, encouraging wider consideration of similar strategies. Women responding positively experience growth and stronger relational prospects as a result. To fill out the word count further, consider the psychological benefits men describe from this choice. Reduced financial stress leads to better sleep, improved focus, and greater emotional availability for other aspects of life. They feel empowered by their decisions, and this confidence attracts positive opportunities. The sobering truth is that overextending without reciprocity often led to resentment and burnout, but the new path offers renewal. This creates space for authentic relationships that develop naturally without pressure. As more men adopt this, the cultural conversation evolves toward realism and mutual benefit. The relaxed bar style reflection here is about acknowledging the changes, seeing the logic behind them, and choosing paths that serve long term well being. Economic factors such as housing affordability and career uncertainty continue to shape these decisions, making financial caution a wise response. Men who prioritize saving and investing position themselves for stability, and this foresight pays dividends over time. They enjoy the freedom that comes from not being tied to expensive dating cycles and instead directing resources toward goals that matter. This approach also allows for generosity in contexts where it is appreciated and reciprocal rather than expected. Women who understand and respect this find it refreshing, and it opens avenues for genuine partnership. The narrative underscores the importance of adaptability in a changing world and how individual choices contribute to larger shifts. Further reflection shows how this trend encourages critical thinking about cultural messages around gender roles and expectations. Men are questioning narratives that placed undue burden on them while undervaluing their needs and responding by setting healthier boundaries. This leads to more balanced views and interactions. Women are similarly prompted to examine their assumptions and build capabilities that support independence. The result is a more mature approach to relationships across the board. It is straightforward to see that sustainable systems require input from all parties, and the current adjustments are correcting imbalances. Men who maintain their discipline report higher life satisfaction and encourage others to consider the benefits. Men continuing down this path of financial discipline discover layers of freedom that extend far beyond simply holding on to their earnings, and it reshapes how they view daily decisions in profound ways that build lasting resilience against the uncertainties swirling through the economy and social structures these days. When guys start redirecting their resources toward personal development, like upgrading skills in high demand fields or investing in assets that generate steady returns, they unlock a level of independence that feels grounding and reliable, especially as broader job markets show signs of tightening in sectors that once offered more stability. This creates a ripple where the simple act of saying no to one sided spending opens up mental bandwidth for strategic thinking about career moves and lifestyle choices that prioritize long term security over fleeting social validations. Friends chatting over drinks often nod in agreement when the talk turns to how exhausting it used to feel. Chasing connections that drain the wallet without building anything solid. And now the shift brings a quiet strength that permeates everything from morning routines to evening wind downs. The sobering part hits when you realize how much energy was previously wasted on dynamics that did not serve mutual growth, and stepping back allows for clearer assessment of what truly adds value in life, whether that means advancing professionally or cultivating hobbies that bring genuine satisfaction without external costs attached. As economic pressures mount with everyday essentials demanding more careful allocation, men who embrace this mindset report a heightened sense of control that counters the helplessness some feel when costs climb faster than incomes and opportunities in certain areas seem to contract, leaving individuals to fend more for themselves. They focus on building emergency funds, exploring entrepreneurial ideas that align with their strengths, and maintaining physical health through consistent habits that pay dividends in energy and focus, all of which stem from not leaking resources into situations lacking reciprocity. This approach fosters a raw honesty in evaluating potential relationships where the foundation rests on shared effort and realistic expectations rather than outdated assumptions about provision roles that no longer fit the current landscape. Women encountering this new reality often face the necessity of reassessing their own financial strategies, and it serves as a wake up call to develop parallel independence that strengthens their position in an environment where external support is less forthcoming. The authoritative truth here is that self sufficiency becomes not just an ideal, but a practical requirement for navigating these times. And those who adapt early position themselves ahead of the curve, while others scramble to catch up amid tightening conditions. Diving deeper into the societal adjustments unfolding, we see how these individual choices accumulate into broader patterns that influence everything from living arrangements to community interactions, where men prioritize spaces and activities that reinforce their autonomy without the pressure of performative spending. They gather in informal settings to exchange insights on budgeting tools, effective investment approaches, and ways to maintain social connections that do not revolve around financial displays. And this builds a supportive network grounded in mutual respect for personal boundaries. The relaxed conversation among acquaintances reveals a common thread of relief at no longer feeling obligated to carry disproportionate loads in interactions that previously felt imbalanced. And this fosters stronger friendships based on genuine compatibility rather than transactional elements. For women, the adjustment period involves confronting the gaps in preparation that become apparent when the dating support system recedes, and many respond by pursuing additional training or side ventures that enhance their earning potential and self reliance in meaningful ways. It is straightforward to observe that these shifts encourage a more balanced ecosystem where contributions come from all sides. And the raw wake up element lies in recognizing that clinging to previous models only prolongs discomfort in a world demanding adaptability and foresight. The historical context of these changes traces back through evolving cultural narratives that emphasized independence for one group while sometimes overlooking the cumulative strain on the other. And now, the pendulum swings as men reclaim agency over their resources in response to decades of signals that discourage traditional provider roles. This reclamation is not abrupt, but builds gradually through repeated experiences of effort without return, leading to a collective reevaluation that prioritizes personal peace and stability over societal expectations that no longer hold water. Men describe the satisfaction of watching their financial health improve alongside their mental clarity as they detach from cycles that once dominated their decision making, and this creates room for pursuing passions like creative projects, outdoor adventures, or skill mastery that enrich existence without dependency. Women who witness these transformations are prompted to mirror that discipline in their own lives, developing habits that support enduring self sufficiency. And it paves the way for connections rooted in equality when they do form. The sobering reality emerges when examining how economic indicators like persistent inflation and variable employment trends amplify the wisdom of this strategy, making it a rational response rather than a temporary phase. Expanding on the psychological dimensions, men practicing this form of restraint often experience a profound reduction in stress levels because what removing the variable of financial performance in social settings allows for more authentic engagement and decision making free from underlying calculations of cost versus benefit. They talk about waking with a clearer headspace, ready to tackle goals that align with their values, and this compounds into greater overall life satisfaction as achievements accumulate without the drag of unreciprocated investments. In bar style reflections, the group acknowledges how previous patterns sometimes led to resentment that simmered beneath the surface, eroding motivation. But the new path brings renewal through alignment between actions and self interest. This mindset shift encourages women to cultivate similar internal resources, fostering resilience that stands independent of relational status, and it contributes to healthier dynamics overall when mutual respect guides interactions. The authoritative takeaway remains that protecting one's resources signals self value, and this in turn attracts those capable of matching that level of responsibility, creating foundations built to last amid fluctuating external conditions. Further into the practical strategies, we observe men implementing detailed tracking of expenses to identify leaks and redirect funds toward high impact areas like retirement accounts or skill enhancing courses that boost marketability in competitive fields. This meticulous approach turns financial management into a form of empowerment that extends an influence across all life domains, and it demystifies the process of building security even when headlines warn of economic headwinds. The narrative unfolds with recognition that small consistent choices compound into significant advantages over time, positioning practitioners to handle uncertainties with greater composure. Women adapting parallel methods often discover empowerment in mastering their finances, and it levels interactions by emphasizing capability over expectation. It is raw but truthful that ignoring these economic signals leads to vulnerability, while proactive management opens pathways to stability. And the relaxed discussion among friends highlights the shared benefit of facing these truths head on without illusion. As the movement gains momentum through organic conversations, the focus turns to long term implications for family structures and community cohesion, where men approach commitments with deliberate evaluation, ensuring alignment on values and effort before deeper involvement. This selectivity raises standards in positive ways, promoting relationships that thrive on partnership rather than one directional support. And it reduces instances of mismatch that strain resources and emotions. The sobering wake up call comes in acknowledging that sustainable societies rely on balanced contributions from all members, and current trends are correcting previous disequilibriums through individual agency. Men find contentment in their measured pace, discovering joy in accomplishments that reflect personal vision, and this radiates into broader life fulfillment. Women who engage constructively with these realities enhance their own trajectories, creating opportunities for collaborative success when paths cross naturally. The straightforward logic is that financial awareness combined with emotional maturity forms the bedrock for navigating modern relational landscapes effectively. Continuing this exploration reveals how technological advancements and remote work options enable men to optimize their lifestyles further by reducing overhead and increasing flexibility, which complements their financial discipline by allowing more time for value creating activities. They leverage these tools to build side incomes or streamline operations in ways that enhance independence. And this technological edge accelerates the benefits of resource conservation. In casual exchanges, the group reflects on how these adaptations represent smart responses to evolving work environments where traditional paths no longer guarantee security and self directed strategies fill the gap. For women, the parallel pursuit of digital skills and flexible opportunities supports their journey towards self reliance, and it fosters an environment where connections form around shared capabilities rather than dependencies. The authoritative perspective underscores that embracing change through disciplined action yields compounding returns, and those who hesitate may find adjustment more challenging as conditions progress. The deeper narrative layers include examining the role of education and continuous learning in maintaining relevance within shifting job markets where men invest time and saved resources into acquiring knowledge that future proofs their careers. This commitment to growth transforms potential vulnerabilities into strengths, and it models a proactive stance that benefits personal and professional spheres alike. The raw honesty in these discussions acknowledges past eras where expectations differed, but current realities demand updated approaches that honor individual limits and aspirations. Women mirroring this dedication to self improvement often experience parallel gains in confidence and opportunity, which strengthens the overall social fabric when balanced dynamics emerge. It is a sobering realization that economic pressures act as catalysts for necessary evolution, and adapting with clarity leads to more robust outcomes than resistance ever could. Men deepening their practice frequently highlight the importance of diversified interests that provide fulfillment independent of relational status, and this multifaceted living prevents over reliance on any single area for satisfaction. They pursue physical challenges, intellectual pursuits, and creative outlets that enrich daily experience, and the resulting balance contributes to a grounded presence that enhances all interactions. The bar conversation vibe captures the essence of friends, recognizing the wisdom in this holistic view, where financial boundaries support broader life enrichment without isolation. This approach encourages women to expand their own horizons in similar directions, fostering independence that complements rather than competes. And it sets the stage for more equitable partnerships. The truthful core is that true contentment stems from internal cultivation, and external conditions become less disruptive when foundations are solid. As we push further into the implications, broader economic analyses suggest that these behavioral shifts influence market trends in subtle but significant ways, from consumer spending patterns to housing demands, as more individuals prioritize personal stability over coupled expenses. Men who maintain this discipline contribute to a culture of prudence that can stabilize personal finances even amid volatility, and their example inspires wider adoption among peers facing comparable pressures. The wake up element resonates when considering how collective choices shape societal resilience, and individual foresight plays a key role in that process. Women who internalize these lessons by building parallel strengths find themselves better equipped for whatever economic cycles bring, and it promotes harmony in interactions grounded in realism. The authoritative message is clear that responsible resource management remains timeless advice, adapted to contemporary challenges, and those who heed it thrive. The ongoing story of this trend illustrates how personal agency in financial matters translates into greater life autonomy, allowing men to dictate terms that align with their well being rather than external demands. They report sustained motivation for goals that once seemed distant, and this momentum builds through consistent application of principles that value sustainability. In reflective talks, the group appreciates the contrast with earlier approaches that often yielded diminishing returns, and the new path offers renewal through intentionality. This dynamic prompts women towards similar empowerment, fostering a landscape where mutual value creation becomes the norm rather than exception. It is straightforward that economic literacy, combined with boundary setting, forms essential tools for modern navigation. And the sobering truth is that delay in adoption can prolong unnecessary struggles. Further elaboration shows men integrating wellness practices that support sustained energy for their pursuits, from nutrition optimization to recovery routines that maximize the benefits of their disciplined lifestyle. This comprehensive self care reinforces the financial strategy by ensuring health does not become a hidden cost, and it creates a virtuous cycle of improvement across domains. The relaxed atmosphere of shared discussion reveals appreciation for how these elements interconnect to produce resilient individuals capable of weathering shifts without panic. Women adopting analogous habits experience enhanced vitality and capability, which benefits their independent journeys and potential collaborations. The raw perspective acknowledges that maintaining balance requires ongoing effort, but the rewards of clarity and strength make it worthwhile in a world full of variables. As the narrative builds toward wider understanding, we recognize how these practices encourage critical examination of cultural influences on behavior, prompting men to question assumptions that no longer serve and replace them with frameworks rooted in observable outcomes. This intellectual engagement sharpens decision making, and it extends to evaluating opportunities with greater discernment, whether professional or personal. The authoritative stance is that questioning and adapting represents maturity in action, and it positions practitioners advantageously amid change. Women engaging in similar reflection often uncover pathways to growth that align with their strengths, and it contributes to more nuanced social dynamics overall. The sobering call lies in the realization that passive acceptance of prior models leads to misalignment, while active recalibration fosters harmony with reality. Men advancing in this direction often explore community involvement, through volunteer efforts or local initiatives that provide purpose without financial strain. And this outward contribution enriches their sense of connection while maintaining boundaries. It demonstrates that stepping back from certain expectations does not mean withdrawal from society, but rather selective engagement that honors personal limits. In conversational settings, the friend circle values this balance as a model for sustainable living that others can emulate without pressure. This inspires women to pursue avenues of impact that build their own fulfillment and networks strengthening communal ties through diverse contributions. The truthful essence is that meaningful participation stems from strength, not obligation, and current trends highlight effective ways to achieve that balance. Pushing the exploration onward, the economic landscape continues to evolve with factors like technological disruption and global supply variations influencing daily realities, and men who practice resource conservation find themselves more agile in response. They adjust strategies fluidly based on emerging data, and this adaptability becomes a core strength that compounds advantages over time. The wake up aspect emerges clearly when viewing how preparation mitigates risks that catch others off guard, and it underscores the value of foresight in uncertain times. Women who cultivate similar agility enhance their navigation capabilities, and it creates potential for synergistic relationships built on shared competence. It is raw to admit that change can feel uncomfortable initially, but embracing it through disciplined action yields clarity and options that passive approaches cannot match. The comprehensive picture reveals that this movement toward financial boundaries reflects a deeper quest for authenticity in human connections where men seek interactions free from hidden costs and aligned with genuine compatibility. They prioritize quality over quantity in engagements, and this selectivity filters for substance, leading to more satisfying outcomes when connections deepen. The relaxed bar style reflection captures the collective insight that authenticity requires self knowledge first, and financial discipline supports that foundation effectively. Women responding with parallel authenticity often find resonance in these interactions, and it fosters environments where respect flows naturally. The authoritative truth stands that sustainable bonds arise from equality of effort, and the ongoing shifts are illuminating that principle in practical terms. Further into the layers, men describe how this lifestyle encourages gratitude for simple abundances like time freedom and personal space that were previously overshadowed by external pursuits. And this mindset shift amplifies daily contentment. They cultivate practices that highlight these gifts, from mindful routines to reflective journaling that reinforce positive trajectories. This internal focus sustains motivation amid external fluctuations, and it models emotional intelligence that benefits all areas. The sobering realization is how easily priorities can become distorted without intentional recalibration, and the current approach corrects that effectively. Women who adopt similar gratitude and reflection practices enhance their resilience, and it contributes to more balanced perspectives in social contexts. The straightforward logic is that internal cultivation provides stability when external conditions vary, and those who master it navigate life with greater ease. Men advancing further along this trajectory of intentional resource management uncover even more nuanced layers of autonomy that influence not only their immediate circumstances, but also ripple into how they conceptualize legacy building and intergenerational impacts in a world where traditional pathways for family formation have grown increasingly complex and uncertain. As discussions among trusted circles unfold over casual evenings, the realization sets in that by safeguarding earnings and directing them toward ventures like real estate holdings in emerging areas or ventures in renewable sectors, Men position themselves to create enduring stability that does not hinge on volatile relational dynamics or shifting policy landscapes. This forward thinking fosters a profound sense of stewardship over one's life arc, where each decision to withhold from unbalanced exchanges becomes an investment in potential future security for oneself or chosen kin, rather than diffuse efforts that yield little lasting return. The authoritative edge comes through acknowledging that such choices reflect a mature reckoning with demographic trends showing delayed or foregone commitments across populations. And the raw truth reveals how these patterns stem from accumulated experiences of mismatched expectations that left many questioning the viability of older models. Women observing these developments from their vantage points are compelled toward parallel innovations in personal enterprise, such as developing niche expertise in growing fields or forging alliances for collaborative ventures that bolster their standalone viability. And this mutual elevation could eventually seed new forms of partnership grounded in proven capability rather than assumption. The sobering examination of long range societal consequences highlights how widespread adoption of these boundaries contributes to recalibrations in everything from urban planning needs to educational priorities, as fewer individuals pool resources for shared households, prompting innovations in compact, efficient living solutions tailored to solo or small group configurations. In relaxed exchanges, the group contemplates how this decentralization of financial power encourages creative adaptations like community resource sharing models or skill exchange networks that operate without romantic underpinnings, and it underscores a shift toward modular social structures resilient to economic flux. Men who sustain this discipline often report heightened clarity in envisioning their contributions to society through mentorship in professional guilds or participation in civic projects that align with their values without draining personal reserves, and this purposeful engagement replaces earlier senses of obligatory provision with voluntary impact. For women, the parallel journey involves cultivating networks that emphasize knowledge transfer and joint problem solving, which strengthens communal fabrics and prepares them for environments where self directed success becomes the baseline expectation. It is straightforward to note that these evolutions mirror historical periods of economic realignment where individual prudence drove broader progress, and the current wave carries similar potential if met with thoughtful engagement rather than resistance. Delving into the demographic dimensions, men embracing financial boundaries frequently weigh the implications for population dynamics, recognizing that selective engagement in relationships correlates with more considered approaches to parenthood, where resources are committed only after thorough compatibility assessments. This deliberate pacing can lead to smaller but potentially more stable family units when they form, or to fulfilling child free lifestyles enriched by other forms of contribution, such as supporting educational initiatives or environmental causes that extend influence beyond bloodlines. The Barside reflection captures the collective understanding that rushing into structures ill suited to contemporary pressures often resulted in instability, whereas measured choices foster environments where any offspring would inherit foundations of security and modeled responsibility. Women navigating these realities respond by enhancing their own preparedness through advanced certifications or entrepreneurial paths that affirm their capacity to shape futures independently. And this symmetry opens doors to alliances built on demonstrated strength. The wake up call resonates deeply here, as data patterns indicate shifting fertility preferences amid economic strain, and those who adapt by prioritizing viability over convention stand to navigate these currents with greater success and less regret. Expanding the view to encompass global echoes of these trends reveals how similar resource conservation strategies emerge across diverse economies facing parallel inflation, opportunity shifts prompting men worldwide to reassess provider roles through localized lenses while maintaining core principles of self preservation. In conversational flows, the friends acknowledge cross cultural commonalities where technological connectivity spreads awareness of these adaptations, fostering a quiet international dialogue on sustainable living without centralized coordination. Men in this framework often channel conserved means into cross border investments or cultural exchanges that broaden perspectives and opportunities, while women innovate through digital platforms that facilitate independent commerce or knowledge economies resilient to regional disruptions. This global contextualization adds authority to the observation that the phenomenon transcends borders as a rational response to universal pressures. And the raw element lies in accepting that interconnected systems demand adaptable mindsets over rigid adherence to past norms. Such awareness equips individuals to draw insights from varied experiences, enhancing their own strategic decisions. Further psychological exploration uncovers how sustained practices of these boundaries cultivates advanced emotional regulation skills as men learn to detach from external validations tied to spending and instead derive validation from internal metrics of progress and integrity. This internal locus of control diminishes susceptibility to manipulative dynamics or societal guilt narratives that previously clouded judgment, and it promotes robust mental fortitude, capable of withstanding periods of solitude or transition. In the easy rhythm of shared stories, the group recognizes how this emotional maturity translates into more fulfilling, non romantic relationships with peers and mentors where exchanges remain equitable and enriching. Women undertaking comparable internal work often discover parallel empowerment through boundary setting in their spheres, leading to reduced dependency on external affirmation and greater authenticity in interactions. The sobering truth emerges that mental health in turbulent times benefits immensely from alignment between values and actions, and those who achieve this alignment report sustained well being, even as external conditions fluctuate. The narrative progresses into considerations of alternative lifestyle architectures where men construct existences centered on mobility, such as nomadic work arrangements or minimal footprint communities that leverage financial savings for experiences over possessions. These configurations allow immersion in diverse environments that stimulate growth and adaptability while keeping overhead low and control high. Casual dialogues reveal appreciation for how such flexibility counters the rigidity of traditional coupled living models that often locked individuals into suboptimal situations due to shared financial entanglements. Men thriving here contribute creatively through content creation or consulting that shares their insights without compromising autonomy, and women mirroring this mobility develop versatile skill sets that support location independent success. It is authoritative to assert that variety in living experiments enriches the human experience, and the current climate encourages such innovation as a pathway to resilience rather than conformity. As the exploration deepens, attention turns to the interplay with technological disruption, where automation and artificial intelligence reshape labor markets, prompting men to future proof their capabilities through continuous upskilling funded by disciplined saving. This proactive stance mitigates risks of obsolescence and opens avenues in emerging domains that reward ingenuity and self direction. The relaxed bar atmosphere allows for candid assessment of how these tools amplify the advantages of financial independence by lowering barriers to entry for personal projects and ventures, Women who harness similar technological fluency strengthen their competitive positioning, and it creates potential for collaborative innovations that transcend traditional gender expectations. The raw wake up element involves confronting the pace of change and recognizing that those who invest in adaptability through resource husbandry will likely outpace those clinging to outdated frameworks. Societal ripple effects extend into cultural production as men with conserved resources support independent arts or media that reflect their perspectives, fostering narratives of self reliance and balanced reciprocity that challenge prevailing stories. This patronage from a position of strength influences creative landscapes toward more grounded representations, and it encourages women to author their own empowering content drawn from experiences of adaptation and growth. In group reflections, the consensus builds around the power of cultural participation when rooted in personal stability rather indeed than performative excess. And this shift holds potential for richer collective dialogues. The straightforward logic underscores that financial discipline liberates creative and intellectual energies for broader contributions. While the sobering reality is that without such liberation, many voices remain constrained by survival concerns. Men continuing this path frequently integrate philosophical inquiries into their routines, examining concepts of virtue ethics and Stoic principles that align with resource stewardship and personal accountability. This intellectual dimension adds depth to daily decision making, transforming financial choices into expressions of character and long term vision. Conversational exchanges among friends often touch on how these frameworks provide anchors amid uncertainty, offering guidance that transcends fleeting trends. Women exploring parallel philosophical terrains enhance their decision frameworks, and it fosters cross perspective, understanding when interactions occur. The authoritative viewpoint holds that integrating timeless wisdom with modern challenges equips individuals for enduring success, and the raw truth affirms that such integration demands consistent practice over superficial application. Further into the implications, the trend intersects with environmental considerations as men opt for lower consumption lifestyles that reduce ecological footprints through mindful purchasing and efficient living. This alignment with sustainability goals emerges naturally from financial prudence, and it positions practitioners as contributors to planetary health without grand gestures. The bar side talk highlights satisfaction in knowing that personal discipline supports wider benefits, and it inspires women to incorporate eco conscious strategies into their independence journeys, creating synergistic effects. It is truthful to observe that responsible resource use at individual levels aggregates into meaningful impacts, and the wake up call encourages viewing personal finance through this multifaceted lens of ethics and efficacy. As the account builds, men describe evolving social rituals that emphasize shared experiences over material displays, such as collaborative skill building workshops or outdoor challenges that test capabilities and build camaraderie without monetary gates. These practices reinforce bonds based on mutual growth and respect, fostering communities resilient to economic shifts. Women participating or developing analogous rituals strengthen their networks, and it opens pathways for organic alliances rooted in capability. The relaxed narrative flow captures the essence of rediscovering connection through substance, and the authoritative message is that quality interactions flourish when freed from financial distortions. The continuing saga reveals how these adaptations influence policy awareness as men become more attuned to fiscal governance and advocate for systems supporting individual agency rather than dependency models. This informed citizenship stems from direct experience with resource management, and it encourages constructive civic participation. In discussions, the group weighs the benefits of engaged awareness in shaping equitable frameworks, and women similarly attuned amplify calls for balanced approaches. The sobering aspect lies in recognizing personal responsibility as the foundation for effective advocacy, and those who embody it wield greater influence. Pushing onward, the narrative examines intersections with healthcare and wellness industries where financially disciplined men prioritize preventive practices and informed choices that optimize long term vitality without reliance on overburdened systems. This self advocacy extends to nutritional research and movement disciplines that enhance performance, and it models proactive health stewardship. Women adopting parallel strategies bolster their wellness independence, and it contributes to societal shifts toward empowered well being. The raw truth is that health represents the ultimate wealth, and conserving financial means allows greater investment therein. Men who persist in honing their approach to resource allocation and personal sovereignty begin to perceive subtle transformations in their cognitive frameworks that extend into heightened pattern recognition across economic signals and interpersonal cues, allowing them to anticipate shifts in social dynamics before they fully materialize and thereby safeguard their progress with even greater precision. As evenings unfold, with companions exchanging observations, the collective insight emerges that this sharpened awareness stems from breaking free from cycles that once consumed attention and capital without yielding proportional returns, and instead channeling focus toward monitoring indicators like sector specific employment data or emerging cost trends that inform wiser allocations. This perceptual evolution empowers men to navigate volatile periods with composure, where others might falter under mounting pressures from sustained inflation or contracting opportunities in fields traditionally accessible. And it cultivates a form of quiet foresight that permeates choices from career pivots to leisure investments. Women confronting the implications of reduced external financial flows in their spheres often turn toward cultivating analogous acuity by studying market behaviors or developing specialized proficiencies that enhance their adaptive capacity. And this convergence holds promise for interactions defined by reciprocal insight rather than imbalance. The authoritative recognition here lies in understanding that perceptual refinement through disciplined living acts as a multiplier for success in uncertain eras. And the raw essence acknowledges that without such honing, previous blind spots led to repeated setbacks that eroded confidence over time. Broadening the lens to encompass innovations in personal infrastructure, men dedicated to this path frequently experiment with modular systems for self sustenance, such as advanced home efficiency setups or localized production methods that minimize dependency on external supply chains prone to disruption. These experiments arise organically from the imperative to stretch conserve means further, and they yield not only cost savings, but also a tangible sense of mastery over one's immediate environment that bolsters overall resilience. In the comfortable cadence of friendly discourse, participants note how such self contained approaches echo historical precedents of pioneering self reliance during times of scarcity, yet adapt them to contemporary tools like smart monitoring devices that optimize usage without excess. This practical ingenuity inspires women to pursue their own infrastructural advancements through learning trades or leveraging community resources for mutual support networks that affirm independence, and it fosters environments where strength multiplies through shared knowledge rather than extraction. It is straightforward to affirm that building robust personal systems transforms potential vulnerabilities into assets, And the sobering wake up arrives when realizing how over reliance on interconnected but fragile structures amplified risks in past configurations. The unfolding examination of cultural reinterpretation shows men redefining success metrics away from external markers of provision toward internal benchmarks of autonomy and contribution that resonate more authentically with their lived experiences under current conditions. They invest in documenting their journeys through private journals or selective sharing that captures lessons on boundary maintenance and value creation, which serve as reference points for sustained motivation. Casual gatherings allow for exploration of how these redefined metrics challenge conventional storytelling in media and arts, prompting calls for representations that honor diverse paths to fulfillment, including those centered on individual mastery. Women engaging in parallel redefinition processes often articulate their evolving understandings of achievement through creative outlets or professional networks that highlight capability and innovation. And this cultural dialogue enriches the collective landscape with multifaceted perspectives. The raw truth surfaces in admitting that outdated success templates no longer align with economic realities, and adapting them through deliberate reflection leads to more satisfying alignments between aspiration and outcome. Delving into intersections with emerging scientific understandings, men attuned to financial boundaries increasingly incorporate findings from behavioral, economics, and neuroscience that validate the benefits of delayed gratification and strategic restraint on long term cognitive and emotional health. They apply these insights by structuring routines that reward consistency in saving and skill building, which reinforce neural pathways associated with resilience and satisfaction. The relaxed atmosphere of discussion reveals appreciation for how science affirms what practical experience already demonstrated, that protecting resources reduces cognitive load from constant evaluation of transactional dynamics and frees capacity for higher order thinking. Women integrating similar scientific literacy into their adaptation strategies enhance their decision quality, and it creates potential for informed exchanges that bridge understanding across experiences. The authoritative stance is that leveraging evidence based principles accelerates personal evolution, and the sobering element warns that disregarding such knowledge perpetuates cycles of inefficiency that hinder progress. As the chronicle advances, attention shifts to the domain of legacy preservation, where men focused on self directed stability contemplate mechanisms for transferring wisdom and assets through non traditional channels, such as educational endowments or innovation funds that outlast individual lifespans. This contemplation arises from a deepened sense of responsibility toward future generations, even if direct lineage remains selective or absent, and it motivates meticulous planning that aligns with observed demographic adjustments. Friends in conversation ponder how these mechanisms differ from conventional inheritance models strained by relational uncertainties, and they highlight the empowerment in crafting enduring impacts on terms that reflect personal values. Women forging their own legacy pathways through mentorship programs or creative archives similarly affirm their roles as architects of continuity, and this parallel effort enriches societal memory with balanced contributions. It is truthful to observe that legacy building gains depth when rooted in financial prudence, and the wake up call encourages viewing one's resources as tools for lasting influence rather than transient exchanges. Further expansion into recreational and restorative practices reveals men allocating saved resources toward immersive experiences like extended nature retreats or mastery workshops that replenish vitality and spark creativity without the overlay of social performance costs. These pursuits restore equilibrium by emphasizing restoration and growth over distraction, and they cultivate appreciation for solitude as a source of renewal rather than deficit. In easy flowing exchanges, the group celebrates how such intentional recreation counters burnout from prior patterns of overextension, and it models sustainable enjoyment that enhances productivity upon return. Women pursuing restorative avenues tailored to their needs often report heightened clarity and capability, which supports their independent trajectories and opens avenues for connections sparked by mutual rejuvenation. The straightforward logic underscores that true restoration stems from alignment with personal needs, and the raw reality confirms that neglecting this dimension undermines even the strongest financial foundations. The narrative thread weaves into considerations of geopolitical awareness as men with conserved means monitor global events that influence domestic stability and adjust strategies accordingly to hedge against international ripple effects on supply chains or currency values. This vigilance stems from direct stakes in personal solvency, and it encourages diversified holdings or skill sets that maintain relevance across scenarios. Conversational reflections among companions underscore the advantage of informed positioning in an interconnected world where local choices echo wider currents, and it promotes proactive rather than reactive living. Women heightening their geopolitical literacy through targeted study strengthen their navigation skills, and it contributes to more comprehensive dialogues on shared challenges. The authoritative perspective holds that broad awareness integrated with financial discipline equips individuals for volatility. And the sobering truth is that insularity in such times amplifies exposure to unforeseen disruptions. Men immersed in this lifestyle frequently explore synergies with advancements in biotechnology and personalized health optimization, using conserved capital to access tailored regimens that enhance longevity and performance metrics. These integrations reflect a commitment to maximizing the utility of one's lifespan through informed investment, and they yield compounded benefits in energy and focus that support ongoing endeavors. The barroom dialogue captures enthusiasm for how these frontiers democratize well being when paired with resource stewardship, and it inspires women to engage with biotechnological tools for their empowerment, fostering collective advancement in human potential. It is raw to acknowledge that health span extension represents a frontier where prudent financial management provides decisive advantages, and those who seize them redefine possibilities for fulfillment. Continuing onward, the exploration touches upon the reformation of educational paradigms as men advocate for or participate in alternative learning ecosystems that prioritize practical competencies over credentialism strained by economic mismatches. They fund or engage with programs emphasizing trades technology and adaptive thinking, which align with self reliant values and prepare participants for evolving demands. In group settings, the consensus builds that reforming learning pathways through personal involvement yields more relevant outcomes than passive acceptance of systems misaligned with realities. Women contributing to or benefiting from these reformed approaches enhance their own competencies, and it seeds environments where knowledge serves independence effectively. The wake up element resonates in seeing how educational alignment with financial wisdom produces generations better equipped for autonomy, and the authoritative call is to actively shape these systems rather than defer. As layers unfold, men describe the cultivation of philosophical resilience through study of diverse traditions that emphasize equanimity and purpose, which sustain motivation during periods of societal transition. This cultivation transforms challenges into opportunities for refinement, and it deepens appreciation for the journey of self mastery. Relaxed discussions reveal how these philosophical anchors provide stability when external narratives shift, and, and it encourages women to draw from compatible wisdom traditions that bolster their adaptive journeys. The truthful core is that inner fortitude amplified by disciplined living weathers storms that unsettle the unprepared, and the sobering reality invites embracing such cultivation as essential preparation. The account progresses to environmental innovation, where men channel resources into personal sustainability projects like regenerative gardening or clean energy microsystems that align financial goals with ecological responsibility. These projects generate both savings and satisfaction through tangible creation, and they exemplify integrated living that honors multiple dimensions simultaneously. Companions in conversation appreciate how such integration elevates daily existence beyond mere survival, and it motivates women toward complementary environmental stewardship that reinforces their self sufficiency. It is straightforward that holistic responsibility enhances legacy, and the raw wake up affirms that fragmented approaches limit potential in interconnected systems. Men sustaining their commitment often mentor emerging generations informally through example and selective guidance, sharing frameworks for boundary setting and value prioritization that transcend direct financial transfer. This mentorship extends influence organically, and it builds networks of capable individuals contributing positively. The easy rhythm of shared reflection highlights the fulfillment derived from guiding without obligation, and it inspires women to offer parallel mentorship that enriches communal knowledge pools. The authoritative message is that wisdom passed through lived discipline carries profound weight, and the sobering aspect recognizes the responsibility inherent in modeling effective adaptation. Further into the vista, the trend intersects with artistic renaissance as men support or create works that capture themes of autonomy and balanced exchange, reflecting their truths in visual or narrative forms. This patronage from strength diversifies cultural output and challenges dominant tropes with grounded alternatives. In friendly exchanges, the value of authentic expression, free from commercial distortions, becomes apparent, and women advancing their artistic voices contribute depth and variety. The raw truth lies in culture thriving when creators operate from positions of independence, and the wake up encourages active participation in shaping narratives. Pushing the boundaries of this exploration, then integrate quantum inspired thinking on probability and decision making to refine their strategic approaches to opportunities, weighing risks with enhanced nuance. This intellectual application sharpens investment and relational calculus, yielding superior outcomes over time. Conversational flows celebrate the elegance of applying advanced concepts to everyday prudence, and it encourages women to explore similar cognitive tools for empowerment. The authoritative viewpoint asserts that elevated thinking paired with action produces exponential gains, and the sobering call warns against underutilizing mental resources in complex eras. Men who have stayed with this entire deep dive into the shifts happening around us today deserve a real shout out, because reaching the end of something this substantial shows you are serious about understanding the changes unfolding in how people handle their resources, relationships, and futures in tough economic times. And that kind of commitment separates those who merely hear about these trends from those who actually absorb the lessons and apply them to protect their own stability moving forward. If you are part of that dedicated group that made it through, you have stuck with the straight talk about how more men are choosing to hold on to what they earn and build their own peace instead of pouring it into situations that no longer offer fair returns. And that choice is reshaping everything from daily decisions to bigger societal patterns in ways that demand attention right now. If you are enjoying these Angry Guy videos and they are delivering the honest perspective you need, Then show some support by buying me a Red Bull with a one-time gift or setting up a monthly pledge using the link in the description of the video, because that keeps the unfiltered conversations coming without compromise. What did you think about everything we covered here, from the way financial discipline is creating new levels of autonomy for men to the sobering realities women are facing as they adjust to a world where previous support systems are fading, and the broader wake up call for everyone to prioritize self reliance and mutual respect in relationships amid rising costs and shifting opportunities? Do you agree with the core truth that these changes are not about conflict, but about facing facts and choosing paths that lead to genuine stability and peace? Or do you see different angles on how men walking away from unbalanced spending is affecting dating, marriage, and long term happiness for all involved? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and share what stood out to you most, whether it is the economic pressures driving these decisions, the personal freedom men are discovering, or the necessary adaptations on every side. Because real conversations in the comments help us all dig deeper into these important shifts without sugarcoating the challenges ahead. Like the video if you like it, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.